Hello, and welcome to Stretching the Word. I'm your host, Sister Valerie, and not today, devil, just not this year. Today, Sister Valerie is going to do something a little different than she normally does. And that is, I'm going to ask you to please share this video. Not so it can go viral, not so that I can get any money off of it or anything of that sort. But I'm going to ask you to share this video because I want to help the people of God, and I want the people of God to be able to help others. And I want us to have understanding of what's really going on sometimes. We know we have emotions, and we know, we get happy, we have joy, we have sadness, we have anger. But the Bible also speaks of bitterness. And that's a word that we don't often hear in society. Very seldom you hear a person say, oh, well, that person, they just bitter. They always say, well, yeah, that person, they got a lot of anger built up and they need anger management. But sometimes it's greater than just simple anger. So today I want to talk about bitterness. And once again, I want you to share this video. Also today, I will be referring to several articles that I use for reference. I will give them credit because we don't steal other people's material. That's called plagiarizing, and we don't steal. So I will tell you right off the bat that I'm going to be using some material from Biblical Counseling Coalition.com. Once again, Biblical Counseling Coalition. So I'm going to pause here a minute, and I want you to go get a pen, pencil, something writable or whatever you can do to remember these reference sites because they're excellent reference sites. I don't normally give out reference sites, but these are very, very good reference sites as according to biblical knowledge and wisdom. So therefore, I'm going to pass along this information today. So pen and pencil or whatever you can do to remember these two sites that I'm going to be giving information from today, as well as, once again, please share this video. If you like it, love it. I really appreciate, if you like it, let me know, send me comments, whatever. But I want you to share. I want you to go back and observe this information because it's very, very knowledgeable and very helpful. And we do need this wisdom as we walk through life in this day and time. So once again, today I'm going to be talking about bitterness. And I'm going to be using references from Life, Hope, and Truth.com as well as Biblical Counseling Coalition.com. We're talking about bitterness, something and so I'm going to be talking about bitterness. Bitterness is something that we don't talk a lot about, but bitterness is defined as anger and disappointment at being treated unfairly, changing from an experience to a belief. Sometimes, like I said, people will, make us angry. We will get angry over certain situations. But then when you start meditating on something and you keep meditating on it, it gets into that belief, oh yeah, I know I was. I know I was. I know, so it's now went from, okay, an experience to a belief, and you're meditating on this thing. So now it's a belief. It says bitterness is seething and constant. Like I said, you meditating on this thing day and night. Certain things may happen that will trigger you back to, yeah. I'm tired of being untreated, treated unfairly. I'm tired of being overlooked. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. And now it's a constant thing. Every time something happens or goes on, you go back to when, or you relate it to. Yeah, see, I'm being misfairly treated. I'm not, and it's a constant thing, and it just begins to gnaw and eat at you because you're constantly dwelling on what you think happened to you. And I'm not saying that it didn't necessarily happen to you, but once again, the Bible lets us know to be angry and to sin not. We have to let it go. It say, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. You have to get rid of it. If you holding on to it longer than a minute, you've held on to it too long. And therefore, you've opened the door for something else. You've opened the door for bitterness because now, you're constantly meditating on this. And it says, bitter people carry the same burden as angry people, but to a greater extent. Once again, the things that I'm telling you today can be found either in biblical counseling, coalition.com, or you can find it on lifehopeandtruth.com. And then it says that bitterness can be found in multiple strong emotions. Like I said, we all know emotions, we know our feelings, but bitterness can be found in other strong emotions, like I said, look, people say, ooh, they got a lot of pent up anger in them, but it's not just pent up anger. It has now turned into bitterness. It has now turned into bitterness, and it can appear as envy. It can appear as anger. It can appear as resentment and desire for revenge. You heard people, they just, yeah, well, I'm going to do something to them. I'm going to do something to them. I'm going to do something to them. Yeah, I'm tired of this. I'm just going to do something to the next person. I'm going to do something to them because they did this to me. They did that to me. Well, that's no longer anger. That's bitterness. The worst form of bitterness, when you want to be revengeful and bring bodily harm or physical harm to a person or their property. It says it can also be a hardened attitude. Now, this right here, we really need to pay attention to. It can be a hardened attitude, unwilling to change, even when the need to change is clear. People know they need to change. No, I'm not going to change my ways. No, this the way I am, this the way I'm going to stay because I'm tired of people. Maybe you've heard somebody, say that. Maybe you know somebody that say that. Maybe you've even felt that way yourself because of things that have happened in the past and you just won't let go. You won't let it go. So now it's turned into bitterness, and spiritual wise, we say, well, yeah, that person has a root of bitterness. But do we really understand what we're saying about that person? Do we really understand what that person is going through or what they've went through? Do we really understand how to help that person? Do we really understand how to pray for that person? So then it says that the word bitterness is found 4 times in the New Testament of the New King James Version. And you can write this down once again. There are four different versions of bitterness as according to the New King James Version in the New Testament. And these can be found, and I really do urge you to go to lifehopeandtruth.com and read these four different types of bitterness that are found in the Bible. And the first one is Acts chapter 8, verse 23. That's Acts chapter 8, verse 23. Romans, the third chapter, verse 14. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31. And Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 15. But now, let's go to Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 31. That's Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31. And it says, I'm reading the BBE version. Let all bitter, sharp, and angry feeling and noise and evil words be put away from you with all unkind acts. So here the Bible tells us to put away bitterness. We cannot harbor bitterness in our hearts. And we want to be able to help somebody else to get rid of bitterness. But we have to know how to pray so that they will be willing to let it go. First step is forgiveness. Repentance and forgiveness solves bitterness and the root of bitterness. First, you have to, as always, own it. We have to admit that we have this down within us. We have to deal with the situation, and that whomever has a spirit of bitterness, a root of bitterness in their heart, they have to be willing to own it. Remember, I said that bitter people, they know that they have to change, but they're unwilling. They're unwilling. They have a spirit of unwillingness. Sometimes we say their heart has been hardened. And that's true because they feel like they have been so wronged and so misunderstood and so mistreated. But we all must forgive. Remember, if we don't forgive, then Jesus will not forgive us. So today, I hope I've shared some wisdom and some knowledge to my sisters and brothers to help them so that they can also help others, so that we will be able to recognize the spirit of bitterness and to be able to understand. Because in all our getting, we have to get understanding, and we have to know what the enemy is bringing against us, as well as our sisters and brothers and our loved ones and even our enemies. Sometimes people, they hate us, but it's not about us. It's about what they see in us or how they feel like we have treated them. So bitterness, once again, I'm going to ask you to share this video. Once again, I'm going to ask you to go to faithhopeandtruth.com. Also to go to biblicalcounselingcoalition.com and read further, and you will thoroughly understand what bitterness is all about.